Good evening. My name is Jill Lilly. I am the coordinator for the Center County chapter, and I'm welcoming everybody here this evening, both in-house and virtually. We have a great speaker today, Jill McKendrick, and she's going to tell us all about caregiving from a distance. Before I turn this over to Jill, we have two Jills here, which is kind of unusual. I would like you to know that next month we're going to have an ice cream social, as well as a pharmacist coming in to talk about medication management. So we hope that we'll get a good crowd next week, I think, or next month. Sorry, I think it'll be a great presentation. ACAP Center County could not be in existence without the support of our core sponsors, and those are Grain Hospice, Encompass Health, Juniper, Penn State Health, and the Office of Aging, Center County Office of Aging. So we're very grateful for all of the support that we get from them. And I think with that, can I turn this over to the other Jill?
You can.
All right.
I don't know if you have to let me in here and I'll.
Should I? I have a button here to add her. Do I add her to the stream?
Oh, yeah. Share. Okay. I was running a little late, so I may have technical difficulties. Do you want to mute yours or just keep yours as?
I can mute mine.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Muted.
You have to turn your volume down. Testing. If you turn. Now let's test it. Oh, good. That's perfect. How's that? Now, those of you watching online, I hope you can see my screen. Now, those of you here, though, I realized I didn't get that far, did we? Oh, goodness. That's okay. Is this the, we missed a step here, Mitch. Do we have the HDMI cord? I apologize, everyone at home watching. I was having some babysitter difficulties last minute, but everything worked out. But I didn't get to do my pre-setup. That's not an HDMI, which would have been helpful for all you nice people that are here in person. Is this the projector here, you say?
Yep.
Projector screen. This right here. Ooh. No, that goes to the DVD player. Well, I can take.
You could probably just take it out.
Yep. Now we're talking. Look at that. Okay. And then this turns on. I'll do my song and dance while we wait. How's that? Nope, not yet. I had thought I should have printed this out before I came here, printed out a bunch of copies. That would have saved us from all of these technical issues.
What you could do, you could advise folks to leave their name and email in chat, and we can make sure that they get good copies.
Yep, certainly. Yep, if I can email PDF copies of this presentation. If you want to leave your name and email address in the chat section, please feel free to do so. I have emails, I think, for the people all here in person, so I know where to find them.
Did you turn the power button on?
I did, I thought. Did I turn it off when I turned it on?
Huh.
It's on HDMI 1. Jill, are you able to see the chat if people have questions? Is that?
Yes, I
Okay,
should
great.
be able to.
Okay.
Here's the issue. This guy.
Oh, well, that would have helped, huh? Step 1, check power source. Okay.
And well, it gives people a chance to enjoy their pizza.
Yes, pizza, the mall pizza is really good. Is this
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mall pizza is great. They obviously still stay in business. Somebody's here at the door.
Oh, I'll get it.
Another in-person attendee, which is great. And don't mind me, like, because I was running here. At least it's nice and cool. Oh, are you? Oh, good. Look how smart you guys are. The people in person, those viewers at home, some of them have their smartphones up so they can see the slides. That's great. Yeah. Well, I had planned to be here about 15 minutes earlier than I was. That we could have resolved all of this. Lessons learned.
Jill, do you know anything more about getting this thing?
It needs to be on HDMI 1.
Yeah, I still think we're getting any power.
No power still.
It doesn't seem like anything's turning
And the
on.
power cord is plugged into the projector? Or just the
So-
card?
This is the power cord here,
It's plugged in.
which is plugged into.
Oh yeah, it's plugged into this one, which
I just flipped that switch. Tried flipping that switch to see
yeah,
if that was the
I just
issue.
hit power. Okay, well, I definitely.
I've got another plan. if you want.
Oh yeah, we love. Let's hear it.
Hold
Backup plan.
Hold that thought.
I'm sorry, y'all. It is plugged in here. Should I try plugging it in? But like this doesn't have like a light that usually a light would turn on, right? I'm gonna try this plug just because it's nearby. How's that? I don't even know if it's on. So like this unwinds. Is it plugged in?
I would assume.
So Jill, are you going to tell us all the wonderful ways you can use technology to help?
Yes, I'm obviously an expert in technology, which is why I'm here. Oh. Well, I'm glad there's snacks. I hope those of you at home, take a couple minutes here and go get yourself a snack so you can join us in snacking as well. Oh, that's great. You can put it like right here, prop it up. Oh, look at you. This is great. It's the power cord. And I'll use this HDMI. And then this one.
Oh, and this even has a.
Remote. Now we are cooking with gas. And I'll put this in. And then we'll just have to prop this up probably so So that, 'cause that's-
See where that starts.
Closed captions.
That's really-
Where'd you plug it in? This black?
This one, yeah.
I'm not getting power from there.
Really?
Maybe if I have it no longer.
Is power cord like in? Yeah, I mean, try this one, but this one didn't. What is this white one even plugged into?
That's plugged into the green cord, which is plugged into that
Oh.
black box.
Okay.
Maybe see if that, see if you plug that green cord into that white box in the wall.
Come on.
There we go.
All right.
So we have an effective black box.
Yeah, which that I'm gonna need to then plug my laptop in here. Okay.
You don't need any of these.
I don't think so for now.
Okay.
I think we will be okay.
I don't know if this works. I'll try.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, maybe behind it here.
Yeah.
Maybe while we're setting up, if it's okay, those of you here in person and then those of you online, if you want to put your answers in the chat box, I always like to know a little bit about the audience. So when I'm sharing information, I can try to personalize it more to meet your needs and interests. So again, I know some of the people here in person, but I also would like to know those of you online if you're willing to share a little bit. So first, I'd like to ask the question, is your parent living at home? Anybody have a parent living at home? Technically, yeah. Yeah.
In their own home? Or
In their own home. In their own home. Yep. If you have a parent that you're helping living at home, and how many of you have a parent that is living in a care community, whether that's personal care or independent living or memory care or a skilled nursing community? Anybody in person and online? Is there anybody that has a loved one in a community or facility? Of course, I can't really see the answers, huh? On there, but that's okay. Okay. Well, today, Jill had asked me to discuss the topic of keeping our loved ones safe and engaged, even from a distance. Now, I know those of you in person, I know have local family members here that you get to see often, but some people live out of town, out of state, and even out of country. So it's a little hard to keep track when we don't live near them or see them every day. Now, a lot of you, I know, Bill and Dana, you get to see your dad probably every day, which is really great. And what's your name here in the yellow? Sorry.
Molly Shores.
Welcome, Molly.
Thank you.
Are you caring for a parent?
Actually, it's an elderly aunt, and I'm not that far away from her. But the information that you're going to talk about, I want to get to my kids in California.
Oh, sure. Well, I'll get your email and we can also share the slide deck with anyone here so that you can share it with your adult children. That's a great idea. Being very proactive. I like that. Okay. Well, what's A lot of people who, like I said, you can call in an emergency until you can get there from a distance. So next I want to move on to recognizing the signs of depression, neglect, and or abuse in older adults. And there's a startling statistic that shows that 50% of older adults are diagnosed with depression, and that's just those diagnosed. So that number might actually be greater than we know. So, but depression is not a normal part of aging. You know, people think, oh, they're just older and they're sad. It's not normal. So it's important to talk to your doctor if you have concerns about yourself or your parent. But some of the signs to watch for in your loved one that they might be suffering from depression or being neglected or abused are feelings of hopelessness, pessimism. Has anybody had a pessimistic older adult in their life? I knew Debbie. Yep. We all have. I still do. So, yep. Feelings of guilt, worthlessness, helplessness. We hear this a lot. Just let me here. I can't do anything anyway. I won't have fun. I won't be able to do it. Irritability, restlessness. Yep, we definitely have seen some irritable older adults, right? And when you think about it, I'd be irritable too if I could not do the things I wanted to do, if I could not. It can be hard. Loss of interest in activities or hobbies that they once found pleasurable. This is a big one. And again, when driving ends, they really kind of lose their connection to the outside general community. So that's a big one. And then it gets harder and harder. I often, we all hear the quote, use it or lose it. And that is real for older adults. I've seen it every day. We saw it a lot in COVID for those that weren't going out anymore. And that also applies to socialization, those social skills, especially as someone gets dementia. So use it or lose it. We want to make sure people can still get out and go. Fatigue and decreased energy, sleeping a lot more than usual is a big sign of depression, right? Difficulty concentrating, remembering details, making decisions can be a sign of depression. Insomnia. Suicide or suicidal attempts. A lot of people think this doesn't happen a lot with older adults, but I can tell you it does, and it has, and it will continue for some people, unfortunately. That's an important one to speak up to your care provider. And, if you feel that they have not only the thoughts of suicide, that's one thing, but the means to actually go through with a plan, that's when things can get pretty serious. And there are inpatient psychiatric facilities that are especially for the geriatric population. And there's one not too far from State College. So, and then persistent aches, pains, those headaches, digestive problems. I would say all of us know an older adult with digestive problems, right? So some of those things can make it hard to engage, therefore resulting in more depression. I mentioned socializing in general is harder as we get older, and here's some of the reasons why. There's a lot of barriers for our older adults. Reduced sensory functioning or cognitive ability. If you can't hear very well, it makes it really hard to have a conversation with somebody else, right? If you can't see very well, it makes it hard to do the things you want to do. And if you're not always understanding what people are saying or understanding the situation, because you might have signs of a cognitive impairment or dementia, that can really make it difficult to engage socially. Older adults, especially, again, I keep going back to this loss of driving, but they often have a perception that they have less choices in what they can do. They have to rely on someone to do everything for them, take places, so they don't feel like they can just say, oh, I want to go to the senior center today for bunco. When they have to rely on other people to do it, they may not speak up because they don't feel they can. Some of the quotes on here are things that I have heard from older adults. My family's too busy for whatever. All of my friends are dying. There's no one to talk to. So sometimes that makes it hard. The next bullet point, challenge is forming new relationships. I hear this one a lot. What's the point? They could die tomorrow. They don't feel that it's, worth making new friendships because they feel it's just too much work for late in life. And, that's a big one that we want to talk about a little bit more. So, and then certain organizational policies, depending on where someone's living, if they're living in a place that has limited visiting hours and no transportation, if they're out in a rural area, there are a lot of things that can kind of get in the way from socializing. So when we look at this list here, these are diagnoses that may affect somebody's ability to engage and be active and stay safe, but each diagnosis kind of needs its own little adaptation. So when we're looking at this list, these are all pretty common diagnoses, right, for older adults. And I think we can look at this and say, oh, I know someone who has each of these bullet points. Some people might have all of these bullet points. So being aware of what your loved ones have been diagnosed with can really impact their abilities to engage. There was a study by Age UK that estimated that depression affects 40% of older adults. And the 5 main reasons for that are age discrimination. That is a real thing, right? There's a lot of ageism out there. Decrease in the things they used to find meaningful. Decrease in personal relationships we talked about. Decline in physical health. And of course, for some people, financial poverty can really make it hard. So we, the caregivers, whether it's a child or a care community, can really help by providing meaningful experiences for older adults to kind of battle that depression in older adults. So now I want to talk more about why it's important for our older adults to stay socially engaged. So there's a term, engagement. We say it a lot now. Instead of just activities, they're engagement opportunities, because I like to say it's more than entertainment. We want people to be engaged in the activities. So what does engagement mean? We define engagement as the act of being occupied or involved with an external stimulus. This statistic is from the CDC, and the average nursing home resident only gets about 11 minutes of engagement a day. So let that sink in. 11 minutes a day of active engagement. So that's not very much, right? Very little engagement. So something to think about as caregivers is how we can increase that number. The benefits are pretty obvious. These are all things you probably would, if I quizzed you, what are some benefits of being social and engaged? Increase self-esteem. Older adults still have self-esteem. They still worry what others think about them, just like you or I do. I hear a lot of comments, things like, oh, everybody's dressed so nicely here. Or, oh, I won't, people will get annoyed with me if I have to ask for the question to be repeated. So I'm not gonna go there. So it's really important to kind of think about that with your loved one, about their self-esteem. Obviously, it relieves boredom. Boredom can be a a challenge for older adults, especially those living with dementia. And if you've had a loved one with dementia, you know that if they have nothing to do, they will find something to do. So it's important to kind of guide them towards something meaningful and productive rather than other things like wandering or exit seeking. Engagements should support their cognitive functions. So I mentioned about use it or lose it. I like to give a great example. There's a lot of older adults living at home. Their adult children have set up caretakers to come and clean and cook for them. That's great. But again, then your loved one's not using that skill anymore, so they will decline in that skill. So instead of the caregiver cooking for them, maybe they could cook with them safely, especially those early stages of dementia, where supervision is enough. And really that's your concern is, are they safe in the kitchen? Well, if someone's there with them, cooking with them for the week will give your loved one still using those skills that they've had their whole life, but also doing something meaningful and productive for themselves. The same with cleaning. Cleaning with your loved one rather than cleaning for them. We want to encourage independence at every age. And again, it gets to be use or lose it. That goes right with the next one, preserve abilities and skills. So helping your loved one to keep doing what they can for themselves safely with supervision is really important. Being engaged with activities or events or programs can also give structure and kind of normalize life. Those of you that are retired, I don't know what that's like yet. I look forward to that, but you kind of have a day that's a little more wide open. And a lot of people say, well, now what am I going to do with my day? And it's really good to keep engaged in things that are, structured. Oh, I got to do this at this time and this at this time. And then, of course, meaningful engagement can provide roles for people and, of course, diversion for those living with dementia. I mentioned earlier, those living with dementia, they will constantly feel like they're supposed to be doing something, but they don't know what that something is. So that's when we see a lot of those challenging behaviors that come about. So making sure there's kind of structured things for your loved one to do can prevent some of those behaviors. And of course, keeping our older adults engaged can tackle loneliness. This statistic at the bottom really startled me the first time I saw it, that loneliness can be as harmful for your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So think about that with your parents or relatives, or even for yourself for the future. What can we do to help prevent loneliness? Of course, with age comes more health complications. 80% of older adults suffer from a chronic condition, and 50% of those older adults have 2 or more chronic conditions. There's evidence that shows that physical activity leads to a lower risk of heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes. You all know this, right? Our doctors tell us this a good bit. By participating in physical activities, older adults can maintain or improve their activity levels and keep moving. So if you're at home and you're visiting a loved one, a great activity to do is go for a walk when the weather is nice together. Maybe they're not safe to go out for a walk by themselves because, one, their cognitive functioning would cause them to get lost, or physically they might fall. So doing it with them, again, preserves that skill of walking and getting around their neighborhood. And then those in care communities also, the staff do walking groups, but family members, when they visit, you can take your loved ones for walks. That's really important. Keep on moving. We can talk a little bit more about dementia and how we can use social and recreational engagement opportunities. So this was a study done, now it was 2017, so it's a little older, with the Center for Aging and Brain Health Innovation. It showed that those living with dementia had a 20% decrease in antipsychotic medication use when they were actively engaged in activities, an 18% decrease in aggressive behaviors, a 20% increase in social engagement, and a 3% increase in cognitive functioning. So in other words, being highly engaged in recreational activity is associated with increased cognitive functioning, social engagement, as well as decreased aggression and antipsychotic meds. So the benefits are abundant. Strategies for making your home visits or even at a care community visits and long distance contacts more productive. So I mentioned earlier about providing routine and structure. If you're calling your parent, try to do it at the same time every day. My mom is not anywhere elderly, but I call her every day at the same time. It kind of gives us a checking point. If I don't call, she checks in with me. If she doesn't call me, I check in with her. Hey, I didn't hear from you. Are you okay? Calling your loved ones, that can be really great. Encourage independence, I talked about earlier, safely if it's a matter of doing something with them instead of for them. We want to encourage them to stay independent. But offer new experiences. This is one that a lot of people, there's that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But that is not true. I've done some surveys at Juniper Village in my time there about our residents and quality of life. And one of the things that surprised me the most were the amount of comments on our quality of life survey about how many older adults wish to continue learning something new. And I had a resident who was 98, and she said she strives to learn something new every day. Our brain never stops learning. So keep that in mind when you're planning some discussions with your older adult, whether it's recreational things or going out for experiences, the museum, guest speakers, taking your parent with you for those things. More than just entertain, engage. I said this before. I like to think about the TV with this. This is a good one. I don't love television for older adults. The same reason we don't love television for young children anymore is what benefit are they really getting out of the television? They're sitting while watching it. A lot of times those with dementia don't really understand what they're watching anyway. So if the television is something that you need to use, I encourage family members or in-home caregivers to make it more of a discussion about what's on the television rather than just sitting passively and watching. But television's not great for older adults. So more than just entertaining and kind of killing time, let's do something that they're actively using their brains or bodies. Reminiscing is my favorite thing to do, and you can do this over the phone and you can do this on video chat. I just did this with my 90-year-old grandmother yesterday. There was a family reunion and we had a Facebook group. She couldn't go because she lives in a personal care home. She's wheelchair bound. But there was a lot of great reminiscing photos and a lot of photos of my grandmother and my dad and his siblings as young kids. And I loved to show those pictures to her through our iPads and hearing her stories about those pictures. I had a great time. So these are all things you can do at a distance or you can do in person. Grab those old photo albums that your parents have and go through, ask questions. That's my next bullet point, ask questions. I took my young kids to visit my grandmother not long ago. I have a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old. And before we went, we talked about their great grandmother. And I said, let's think of some questions that we can ask great Gram when we go to visit her. And she had questions like, where was Grandpa born at? I said, that's a great one. Let's talk about that. 7-year-olds are very inquisitive. They have a lot of questions like, is she going to live here forever? I don't know. What's your favorite food? Do they have food there? Like he had all kinds of questions. And it was great because then we sat with my grandmother and we had a lot of fun chats. So ask a lot of questions and then let your parent be the teacher or your loved one. This is my favorite way of connecting during a visit, whether in person or over technology. Let them teach you something. Now is a great opportunity, especially if you are retired and have free time. And, my mom was a great sewer. My mom still is. She sews a lot. And as a kid, I could have cared less. I didn't want to learn how to sew. But I said to my mom the other day, I said, when I have more time, I really want you to teach me to sew. I feel like that's a skill I wish I would have now that I'm an adult. But as a teenager, I didn't care to learn when she wanted to teach me. So think about those things that you can learn from your parents. So they're not only engaged in that activity, they're telling you about it. It makes them feel like they have a meaning and a purpose, and they're passing on something to you. So let your older loved one be the teacher. Some of this is getting a little repetitive, but again, providing fun and purpose is important. It's not just something to do. We're not just passing the time. So that's kind of a wrap up of all the things we just talked about and those important topics. When looking at long-term care communities, we want to look for whole person wellness programming. And this is a big one. And now I'm an activities director, so I'm biased because I think we're the most important department. And I can explain why in many ways. Most people move to a long-term care community because they need care, right? They need nursing care. They need someone to help them bathe and dress, be fed in some instances, take medications. But what are they doing while they're there? Again, think back to that slide about the 11 minutes a day of engagement. That's really a very small piece of the day. So ask about activities. A lot of people don't know. In Pennsylvania, for personal care homes, which is assisted living, they're not required to employ activity staff. They're required to have recreational activities, but there's not really many regulations around them as far as how many and what type. So there's a lot of communities that don't employ activity staff. Instead, they rely on their nurses' aides to lead programs. But I don't know if anyone knows any nurses lately. They're pretty busy, right? So if the nurses' aide's looking at the schedule and there's supposed to be activities, but then someone needs an unexpected bath due to incontinence, let's say, then what's more important? Obviously, we're going to go bathe, clean up that person than lead bingo or lead a craft. So when you're touring communities, ask about the activity department, ask to see a calendar, and ask to go see the activity that's going on the calendar. And that's a step that a lot of people don't do on tours. Now, I do tours now, and because I'm an activities director, I love to talk about activities, but not many people ask about them during tours. If I didn't bring them up, I don't know if people would ask. So that's really important. And I mentioned the great word bingo. Bingo's fun. Everybody likes bingo. But we want to see a more well-rounded activity calendar. So when you're looking at a community, look at the calendar of activities. What are you seeing? I mentioned I was at my great-grandmother's recently, her personal care home. It's a lovely personal care home. They only had 3 activities a day, and they were bingo, the day I was there, bingo, Uno, and coloring. And there was nothing physical, nothing to challenge them intellectually, nothing really social. So look at the types of activities they're doing too. So I'm not going to go through each of these, but when you all get the slides, you can look. I put examples of things in every category. Ideas of what you could do with your loved one, both at home or in a care community. I like to stop on the social one because, again, I think the social part is really important. Again, we can lose our social skills. So a lot of our parents, when they were retired, maybe they were involved in clubs and activities, organizations. If they can't get there anymore because they're not driving, that could be a fun opportunity for you to take them with you. If you're not local to your parent, finding someone else from that organization, maybe that can pick up your parent to take them to those meetings so they can stay connected with their group. It's really important. Vocational is one that a lot of people don't think about. Like, vocational, my 90-year-old dad doesn't need to work, right? But vocational is more life skills even. Like I mentioned earlier about cooking and cleaning. Some of those skills that they acquired over time as they became an adult, we all learn how to cook and we all learn how to do these things. We, again, want to encourage independence so they can keep doing those things. So there's some recreational things that you can do that will benefit those vocational skills and keep things going. And creative's fun, as an activities director, it's always kind of fun to see who's willing to come out for the arts and crafts. The ladies love it, but every once in a while we get a guy who's never painted before, and they learn to paint in their older adult stage of life, and that's really great. Singing, never sang before, but yeah, sure, I'll join the community choir. So being creative is great for older adults. You should really encourage that. And then things to keep them using their brain. So when you're having those daily phone calls with mom or dad, checking in, plan ahead a little topic for them, maybe that you can talk about. We talked about reminiscing, of course, but little brain games, trivias, things like that you can talk over the phone, or if your parent is lucky enough to have a smart device that you can FaceTime with. What's really great, those of you with smartphones, you can share your screen so they can see what's on your screen. I did this with my grandmother. I shared my photo screen so I could go through my albums and show her and talk at the same time. We could also do this with games so that you get to control the screen even from a distance. So we'll talk more about technology and things in a little bit. Yeah, here we go. So there's too many things for me to type literally every resource, but we can talk more, those of you here in person or those of you in the chat. If there's any questions, let me know. But there are so many things out there. Can anybody in the room name any of those apps that you hear for brain cognitive functioning? A lot of them cost money, like Lumosity, that you have a daily brain activity, and it's something simple like find the matching ducks, or sequence the numbers. They're little 10-minute daily brain exercises, and it reminds you to do it if the day is getting closer to ending and you still haven't gotten on to do your cognitive brain activity. So brain building things are great. Music and memory is my favorite, and this is a nonprofit organization. You can check out their website. The benefits of music to older adults are abundant, especially those living with dementia. If you have not checked them out, check out their website, musicandmemory.org. It's very simple to find. But there's also a great documentary. You can watch the whole documentary on YouTube for free. It used to be streaming on Netflix. I'm not sure if it is. I know the library here in State College has it on DVD. It's called Alive Inside, and it talks about the benefits of music in older adults, especially those living with dementia. So I encourage all of you to watch that documentary. Make sure you have your tissues ready for happy tears, not sad tears, because it's a great, great film. Your local senior center, where we're at now, is a great resource for socialization for older adults. But I can't drive anymore, right? Again, I can't drive anymore. That is the biggest barrier to a lot of socialization for older adults. So helping your parent get set up with a local transport, Center County, we're pretty lucky to have that. I know, but some of the rural areas don't always. Again, finding a buddy system. Where there's a will, there's a way. So calling the senior center, is there other members that drive by this road that could pick up my mom? That'd be great. Churches, this generation is really rooted with their churches. And I know a lot of people who have other church members that will take them to places, take them to church still so they can stay connected as long as possible. Of course, if your loved one's in a community, again, we talked earlier about the importance of asking about the activities department and learning what they do. There are people who get paid to literally help your parent get engaged and active. So utilize them a lot when your loved one is living in a community. And if you have concerns, talk to the activities director about creative ways to get your parent involved. I tell a lot of people when their parents move into senior living, it's kind of like moving into the dorms in college. Did any of you live in a dorm in college? How did you feel on that first day? Right? You're living with a stranger and there's things going on, right? There's things going on, but can I just go to them? It's always nice when someone comes and knocks on your door and says, hey, you want to go down to the social with me? Right? We love that. So I always encourage staff members, but also family members. You can be that person. Hey, mom, there's a happy hour going on down the hall. I'm going to go. Let's go together. If your loved one is hesitant to come out of the room at the senior living community, again, I always tell people don't ask because they're probably going to say no. Just say it nicely like, hey, it's time to go to exercise class. Let's go together. If you say, hey, you want to go to exercise? No, I don't want to go to exercise either. So half the battle is getting there, and then once they're there, they usually always have fun and a good time. But again, think about yourself when you were a new student in the dorm. It's always great to be invited, right? And then now think about it when you can't remember your way around the building, you can't read the signs, you can't always hear. It's going to be even harder for your loved one to get out of that room and go to an activity. So talk to the activity department about inviting them out and escorting them. Some places will just knock on the door. Do you want to go to exercise? No. Okay. And then they walk away. Video chat platforms. This was great. So COVID time was a lot of fun teaching older adults how to use Zoom. Have any of you in the audience Zoomed with an older adult? There's a lot of pros and cons. So Zoom is great. FaceTime, Skype, there's all kinds of apps now out there. And some of them are easier to use than others. One of my favorite devices that I have seen is the Facebook portal. Has anyone ever heard of the Facebook portal? It's like a little screen, but it can actually follow you around the room. So if you would put it in your parents' house, so when you call them, they don't have to really do much. They don't have to be right there on the screen. It's almost like you're in the room having a conversation with them. So it's a lot easier to use, and they don't have to be too tech savvy, and they don't have to be right up on the screen with their face in the camera to be seen. So it's kind of a nice one. But video chat platforms have really changed how we can visit. And again, I mentioned earlier how you, the child, can share your cell phone screen and they can see exactly what you see, so you can control it so they don't have to. But again, it's more than just showing them things. Engage them, ask them questions, encourage them to tell the stories, and be engaged in what's on the screen. Pen pals, I love this one. Pen pals are fun. So when I was a kid, we were pen pals, my 5th grade class with the local senior center. And I really got a lot out of that. I really thought that was great. Your loved one doesn't have to be in a care community or at the senior center to be a pen pal, but encouraging your loved ones, it can be hard to write. It's hard to see the lined paper, but there's resources out there. What Department of Human Services, there's the office, I'm going to say it wrong, blind services. They can bring bold lined paper that is wider and bolder so that those with low vision can see the lines to still write. Again, that's using a skill, it's preserving a skill, and it keeps them engaged with others. You can find creative pen pals. It doesn't have to be kids, but kids are fun. They need to learn how to write also.
Not cursive.
I know, not cursive. We just had this discussion the other day, somebody and I, about how kids don't write in cursive anymore. But that could be a great skill that someone could teach them. But yeah, pen pals are fun. Even typing, more and more older adults have computers. Did any of your parents use computers later in life? I know your dad does. He emails me, so we're doing pretty good. So yeah, that's great. We're seeing more and more older adults with smartphones and laptops and tablets, which is great. And we're just going to see more of that, if anything. So, but it is hard to learn. It's hard to learn. Home security cameras. I want to tell you a story I just learned about. Now, people are a little apprehensive about home security cameras. We feel like it's an invasion of privacy a little bit. But for the children that are long distance, it can bring peace of mind. And it could be as simple as at first just having one outside the front door. And I'll give you an example. I just met a gal, a 93-year-old woman who had been living home alone her whole life, but her daughter is not local. Her daughter decided to install a home security camera right at the front door so that she would know anytime her mom left the house. There was no cameras inside the house yet. But she called me because she got an alert on her phone that the front door opened. And she knew her mom always liked to go out to the mailbox and get the newspaper every morning. She went back to work. The daughter didn't think anything. She goes, I never got the ping that my mom went back in the door. Looked at the camera and her mother had fallen in the driveway. She was able to call 911 from a distance. Now she was out of state and get her mom help relatively quickly. because she had that camera just right outside the front door. So her mom never had to do anything with the camera. The daughter had it installed, the daughter monitored it, the mom didn't, I mean, she knew it was there, but that's about it. So your parents don't have to really do much with them, but it can give you peace of mind just to know when they're coming and going even, right? Or have a view of those stairs in the front that are hard to manage. So that was a real, lifesaver for that family, and they were able to get their mom help. Some people will go a little further and put them in the house in common areas so they can see what their parents are up to. Of course, respecting privacy. We want to avoid the bathroom if possible. A camera down the hallway is great because you can see if they go in the bathroom, and if they don't come back out, maybe want to call a neighbor or someone to go check in on them again. So don't shy away from the security cameras. They're great. There's all kinds of them. They're very easy to use. Medication management devices. This one I just learned a lot about myself. Has anyone either in the room or online heard of and I don't work for this company, so it's called the Hero medication dispenser?
I've seen those kind of devices advertised.
Yeah. I was talking with an adult child whose mother has the beginning stages of dementia, and her biggest concern being at a distance was how I don't know if my mother is taking her medicine every day. Did she take it? Is she taking it twice? But other than that, like, her mother was relatively safe to be at home. It was just, remembering her mom took a lot of pills, and I forget if I took pills sometimes. I probably need this device also. But what it does is it's a smart device, and it links with a smartphone. So you, the adult child, can be wherever you are, and you set it up. It can hold, I think, up to 12 medications, a 90-day supply, and you program it. So slot 1 is the blood pressure medication. Slot 2 is the, diabetes, metformin, and you schedule it. And what it does when it's time to take medications, it makes an alert sound, and it dispenses just those ones. And you can see that they were taken, and then it won't dispense them again. So if they've taken them, you can't retake them. And if you've forgotten to take them, you can, from the app, alert. If your loved one's not taking their meds for an extended period of time, that might be a good reason to check in on them. If it's been a couple hours and they're still not taking their medication. So I encourage you to check out the Hero machine. You have to buy it, and then there's a monthly subscription, of course, but there are discounts, and I think Medicare will pay for the device. They pay for like one hot ticket item a year or something. But so check into that if you have a parent at home. And there's other devices of different names that are similar medication devices. But the adult child that I knew that got this, she cannot stop raving about it. Every time she sees me, she's like, "Oh, I love this device. I'm so glad you mentioned it." It's pretty cool. So that is a great way to keep your loved ones safe from a distance. Voice activated devices. This is great. I have a lot of experience with this firsthand. At Juniper, we took a big step and gave every resident an Alexa show in January. We got about 120 Alexas delivered. We are piloting a program with Amazon to a software program designed specifically for seniors. It'll be coming for the general public, for you and your parents. It's called Speak 2, the number 2. And it is designed, it's an app that works with all Alexas, and it's simple to use. You don't have to really program much. You can really it's kind of like parental controls, but a little easier. So the ones that we have, you can't just say like, Alexa, buy whatever. It's not tied to like a credit card, but it has all those features. You can say, Alexa, play bluegrass music, and she will. But it also, you can set all those reminders and the timers, and you can do this from a distance. So we have a daughter who programmed her mother's Alexa to remind her every hour on awake hours to drink water. And it says, "Bleeding, time for a drink of water." We use it at Juniper. It syncs with our activities calendar. So it says, "Bleeding, exercise class begins in 15 minutes, or the dining room is open, the mail has arrived." So, but you can program it however you'd like, and it can help them stay on that schedule I mentioned about structure, managing time. So Alexas are great, and you can do a lot of it from a distance as far as setting it up and managing it, the account. and it can just be there. But the Alexa shows are a screen, so you can also send pictures, you can video chat through it, and you can initiate all of that as the child from your end, from your smart device. So I can't rave about that enough. Not everybody loves them. For some people, it's just like a really nice clock, because the like screensaver is the time and the weather. That's nice. But for others, we have a resident living with dementia, and his daughter said that's the only way he can call me. He can't use his phone anymore, but he can say, Alexa, call Kathy, and it calls her. So, there's a lot of benefits to it. So think about that for your loved ones or yourself if you haven't gotten one. I'm a pretty forgetful person. I have an Alexa at work in my office, and I also have it remind me to drink water because I don't. Or I'll say, oh, I have a meeting at 2, remind me at 1:45 because I'll lose track of my day. So there's a lot it can do. Smartphones are another one. I'm biased to Apple because I've always had Apple devices. I find them to be very user-friendly, but there's other brands, of course. And yes, your parent will probably need help setting it up. But there's a lot of ways to make it accessible. You can make the icons really big. You can get rid of apps they're not going to ever use to make it simple. And you can make the font large. You can set those alarms. So smartphones are great. We're seeing more and more people use them. I really want to talk about Uber a little bit with the smartphone. Has anybody in this room used Uber? Yeah, Uber is great, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. Some people, there's mixed opinions. Some people have mixed opinions about it, and a lot of the ones that they just haven't tried it. But I know a 95-year-old who uses Uber almost every day, and it has allowed him to stay and connect with his community and continue to go to the places he wants to go safely, because he is not safe to drive. So he has a smartphone. His son helped him program his account with Uber, set it up to a credit card. And when he wants to go somewhere, he goes somewhere. And that's cool, right? Anytime. Sure, you're going to pay more if you want to go somewhere at a unique time. But that is great. So you yourself can request an Uber for your loved one from a distance. You can set up Uber for your parent. You can set up Uber in advance and schedule rides. If you know your mom has a doctor's appointment on Thursday, you can log into Uber from your smartphone and schedule an Uber to pick up your mom on Thursday to go to the doctor's, and your mom doesn't have to do anything. So don't shy away from Uber or Lyft. I shouldn't be biased towards Uber, but it really is a game changer. When Uber first came about, older adults were a little upset about the taxi cab services disappearing, right? Did anybody hear their parents complain about the lack of taxi cabs in State College? As the activities director, I heard about it a lot because they used it a lot. And now you can't just call and get a taxi cab. But for those that don't have smart devices, they can't get an Uber. So it is a little tricky. So, but I think, again, we're going to see this trend of more people having smart devices as they get older. So check out Uber and help your parents set it up, make it simple for them. Or like I said, you do it for them. That's okay. They don't even need to have a smartphone. As long as you have one and you know their address, you can send an Uber to their house. And everybody knows about this, but I just kind of learned about this not long ago, these Bluetooth hearing aids. Does anybody have them or know someone that has them? And they sync with your smartphone, so like you can hear better. That is amazing. My stepfather just got a pair. He had been wearing these old hearing aids for a decade or two. And it's been interesting to see how much, a phone conversation with him is a lot easier now. So if you're trying to call your loved one to talk, your daily chat with mom, and she's having a hard time hearing you, even with hearing aids, check out these. I know they're expensive. I know it's but quality of life. If they can't hear, they're less likely to be socially engaged. They're going to have a faster decline. So check into those fancy high-tech hearing aids. When there's a need for a new or a change to your in-home care or community. So a good question, are they thriving in their current environment? So we can, pick a couple examples, but wherever your loved one is currently, Are they thriving? Meaning, are they fed, bathed, able to take their medications? Are they safe? Are they thriving? If so, then great, continue going. But if no, what care needs have changed since you visited them last? This is a good one for those out-of-state adult children who maybe only go to see their parent every couple of months because you have to travel. You often, when you don't see somebody every day, that's when you notice those changes. So what care changes? All of a sudden, last time I was here, mom was using the toilet independently, but now I noticed a smell of urine. Maybe she's incontinent. That's a big care change, right? That's a big care change. So things like that. What are the barriers that affect your parent today? Driving, again, we talk a lot about driving as a big barrier. Hearing loss, we'd already talked about. So what are those things that are preventing your parent from getting out and doing the things they used to do for themselves? Being home may be cheaper. That's true. Yes. Senior living costs a lot of money, and we've all experienced that. But at a certain age, at what expense? If you're home alone and lonely and at risk for an unsafe, a fall, no one's checking in on you, it's worth looking into selling your home and making the move even to a Medicaid approved facility, because you'll be around people. And I always like to think, me personally, I don't know if I'd want to live home alone my whole life. I think I'd miss having someone to have meals with and conversations with. And so think about that. Yes, it costs money and all that, but at the end, later stages in life, it may be worth it. And then again, how is your parents' hearing and speech? If you're calling your mom and dad every day and you're not having a meaningful conversation because they can't hear you, that's going to be a big loss for them, again, socially. So the phone can be difficult. So maybe they don't need care yet, but hiring a private companion that can come in and take them out or take them grocery shopping, do those things, go for a walk. They don't have to be necessarily providing nursing care. They can provide social and companionship is really important. This is kind of just a vague, broad where to turn to for help. And of course, there's many, many more agencies and organizations out there than what's listed here. The first that we can always recommend is the Office of Aging. If you have concerns about your parent from a distance, they're refusing to hire caregivers or refusing to move to the personal care home, but you worry that they are not eating or they're living in unclean environment because they're not able to clean. So please call the Office of Aging, and Adult Protective Services can get involved and help. Support groups like ACAP and many other ones are a great place to turn to for help. It's really great to hear what other people are doing for their parents, because you may learn of a service that you didn't even know existed. Of course, turn to your other family members if you're lucky to have other family members or ones that are close to your parent. If your loved one is in a care community and you have concerns that they may need a different level of care, that they're not thriving in their current environment, please talk to their social worker or executive director to kind of learn what's next. Go to their current PCP. Of course, it could be medication things that have caused a decline suddenly. It could be, driving, mobility challenges. And therapy service providers can really make a big difference. And I don't always think they're utilized to their full extent, especially when someone's living at home. So we always talk about I talked earlier about maintaining those life skills and independence. That's really, therapy can really come in handy for that, to help your parent be independent longer. I was blown away at a presentation with an occupational therapist about all the adaptive devices. And I will brag about this. Did you know that there's a device that can help women snap their bras in the back independently? I had no idea. So there's something for everyone to keep them independent. So use therapy services as much as you can. If you qualify, and insurance will pay for it, that's great. Because they are full of tips and knowledge to help your parents stay in their home and be independent safely, or thrive in their current environment as much as possible. So make sure you reach out to those. There's many great therapy service providers. This is just some of the resources that I mentioned. So when I email the slideshows to you, this will be included. But that wraps up my slideshow. I'd like to know now if there's any questions, discussion based on the things we talked about.
I did not get any comments.
Quiet group at home.
Yeah, very quiet.
Quiet group at home. Mitch?
Yeah, I have a quick question. So, especially here in State College, I feel like we have a unique environment where there are a lot of implants and either people living here that have older loved ones elsewhere, older loved ones here. What's the best way? Is there a way for people to research and compare different facilities, different agencies?
Yeah.
What would your recommendation be?
So there's, the number one way, everybody get on Google, of course, but there's a few referral sites that we call them. One of them is aplaceformom.com. Another is caring.com. There's one called Patriot Angels for veterans specifically, and they will do the legwork for you. So I'm looking for a care community in this radius of this town, this zip code. I'm looking for memory care, and I'm looking for it to be under $7,000 a month, we'll say. And they will kind of narrow it down. And if you fill out like your contact information, what they do is tell the communities that you're looking, and the communities will reach out to you. So you don't even have to call anyone. It's great. So they will just come to you. So if you don't know where to begin, that's a great place, because then you'll start getting phone calls in the next few days. Hi, I'm calling from wherever. Would you like to come by for a tour? Here's our pricing. Here's what we offer. So use those search. And then they also have ratings and reviews that customers can leave. So you can see the reviews of those communities. You can see the star ratings. A lot of people don't know that skilled nursing facilities, you can access their inspection records online for free at all times through the CMS website, the Center for Medicare Services. Always check out your local skilled nursing facilities star rating. There's a reason that they have a star rating, and that is usually results from their inspection or complaints. You want to look for a community that's 3 or more stars. I think that the max is 5. A 5-star community will have less deficiencies and less violations on their inspections. But you can really, the government regulates skilled nursing facilities very tightly. So if you're considering a skilled nursing facility for your loved one, please check out the CMS website. It's a government-run website. Every week, skilled nursing facilities have to turn in their stats to CMS, things like urinary tract infections, falls, incidents, certain medications that their residents are taking. Staffing hours are on there. How many hours of direct care staff per day are the nursing homes having? So definitely check out that website. It's a great place. Now that's just nursing homes. That's not personal care or assisted living. And caring.com are great. Google reviews. When my grandmother was moving into the personal care home, I immediately got on Facebook because I'm the activities director. I wanted to see what they were up to. Right? Look at their Facebook presence. Are they doing events and programs, things that are fun for their residents? What are their residents doing while they're there? So don't be afraid to look on Facebook, social media, to kind of see that community's presence. Go to the community then if you can, but if you're at a distance, definitely you can get to know a lot about a community from their Facebook posts and what kind of content they post. That's a good question.
I have a